Hey there, everyone. Welcome back to the channel. If you're new here, make sure to hit that subscribe button and click the bell icon to stay updated on all things finance, government policies, and the latest breaking news. Today, we've got a major update you're definitely going to want to hear about. There's a new round of stimulus checks on the horizon, and this time it's a significant amount, $2,000, targeted specifically at low-income individuals. I know that sounds huge, and it is, but there's a lot more to this proposal than just the dollar amount. We're going to dive deep into what this new stimulus program could mean for you, who qualifies, when you can expect the check, and even the potential impact it could have on the economy. So, what's all this talk about a $2,000 stimulus check? Let's break it down. Over the past few years, we've seen the government send out direct payments to Americans, especially during the COVID-19 pandemic. These payments were meant to help individuals and families weather the storm of economic shutdowns, job losses, and rising expenses. However, despite the economy recovering, many people, especially those in lower income brackets, are still facing financial difficulties. Rising prices on everything from groceries to gas to rent have made it increasingly difficult for low-income households to keep up. The $2,000 stimulus check is being proposed as a direct financial relief mechanism to help those who are struggling the most. The plan is designed to target people who fall within a certain income bracket, specifically those who earn below $30,000 per year for individuals and $60,000 for couples. For anyone earning less than these amounts, they could receive the full $2,000 check. As with the previous rounds of stimulus checks, there will likely be a gradual reduction in payment amounts as income increases. So if you make more than $30,000, you may get a reduced check, and if you're above a certain threshold, say $40,000 or $50,000, you may not qualify for the payment at all. These income limits are still being discussed, but it's clear that the intention is to target those who are most in need. But let's talk a little bit about how this plan is different from the previous rounds of stimulus payments. In 2020, Americans received one-time checks of $1,200, and then a second round of payments came in 2021. The payments back then were a lifeline for many people, but as inflation has soared in recent months, many feel that the earlier payments weren't enough to address the ongoing economic pressures. While $2,000 is certainly an increase over the previous rounds, it's still not a long-term solution. The key difference with this latest proposal is that the focus is squarely on low-income individuals, those who continue to feel the financial burden of rising living costs. Another difference is that lawmakers are pushing to make the application process as easy as possible. During the last rounds of stimulus checks, many people had to wait for tax season, file tax returns, or even deal with bureaucratic delays. This time around, the proposal includes provisions for automatic payments, meaning eligible individuals could see a direct deposit into their bank accounts without needing to jump through hoops. This would be a game changer for those who don't usually file taxes or may have trouble accessing government services. So, who's really pushing for these $2,000 checks? A major advocate of this plan is Senator Bernie Sanders, a longtime proponent of progressive economic policies. Sanders, along with other lawmakers from the Democratic Party, has been vocal about the need for recurring payments to help Americans weather financial hardship. He argues that $2,000 payments could provide immediate relief to families who are still struggling to make ends meet in the wake of the pandemic and rising costs. He also believes that direct payments like these stimulate the economy by increasing consumer spending, which, in turn, helps small businesses and local economies recover. Alongside Sanders, Congresswoman Alexandria Ocasio-Cortez has also been pushing for similar measures, arguing that recurring payments would be an effective way to reduce poverty and address income inequality in America. While their efforts have gained traction among progressives, it's important to note that they face opposition from Republicans, who argue that such large payments could cause inflation or lead to higher taxes in the future. Many Republican lawmakers believe that the government should focus on policies that encourage job creation and economic growth, rather than providing more stimulus checks. Now, let's talk about the big question on everyone's mind: When can you expect your $2,000 stimulus check if this proposal gets passed? While there's no set timeline yet, it's possible that we could see checks being sent out by the summer of 2023. There's already a lot of momentum behind this plan, especially as inflation continues to be a key issue in the U.S. economy. However, the timeline could shift depending on how quickly Congress can come to an agreement and pass the legislation. Keep in mind that the checks could go out in waves, with people who are eligible getting them in different phases. Some individuals may receive their checks as soon as the bill is signed into law, while others may have to wait a little longer depending on where they live or how the payments are distributed in their state or local area. Let's take a moment to talk about the potential impact of these $2,000 payments. For many low-income households, $2,000 could go a long way in covering essential expenses like rent, utilities, or groceries. A $2,000 check might be enough to help a struggling family catch up on overdue bills, pay down debt, or put food on the table. It's important to understand that for people living paycheck to paycheck, every dollar counts. The difference between $1,000 and $2,000 might seem small to some, but for many Americans, it could be the difference between getting by and falling deeper into debt. And when low-income families are able to cover their basic needs, they can spend more on local businesses, which in turn helps the economy. The goal here isn't just to help individuals survive, it's to provide a temporary economic boost that benefits everyone in the community. However, while $2,000 might provide some immediate relief, there are concerns that it won't be enough to solve the deeper issues faced by low-income individuals and families. Critics argue that one-time stimulus checks are a temporary fix that don't address the root causes of financial insecurity in America. For example, rising healthcare costs, skyrocketing housing prices, and stagnant wages have made it increasingly difficult for people to make ends meet. Even with a $2,000 check, many low-income families will still be forced to make tough decisions about what bills to pay and which expenses to cut. Some experts believe that we need more systemic reforms to address income inequality, such as universal basic income or more robust healthcare programs, to truly help those who are struggling. Another point of contention surrounding this proposal is the cost. Some Republicans argue that sending out $2,000 stimulus checks would only add to the federal deficit and worsen inflation. They argue that instead of direct payments, the government should focus on policies that encourage economic growth, such as tax cuts or deregulation. On the other hand, proponents of the checks argue that the money would be going directly into the pockets of those who need it most, helping to stimulate demand and boost economic activity in the short term. There's also concern that large government payments could lead to inflationary pressures if the government doesn't find a way to balance the spending with cuts in other areas. So, what are the odds that this proposal will actually pass? While it's impossible to say for sure, the proposal has received significant support from progressive lawmakers and may gain traction if the economic situation continues to worsen. The likelihood of the checks being approved will depend on several factors, including how quickly Congress can come to an agreement and whether lawmakers can overcome partisan gridlock. It's also important to keep an eye on public opinion. If Americans continue to demand direct relief, lawmakers may feel more pressure to act quickly and pass the legislation. As with any government policy, there's always a chance that the proposal will face delays or modifications before it becomes law. But given the economic challenges facing low-income individuals, it's clear that there's widespread support for direct payments as a means of providing relief. Whether or not this particular proposal becomes reality, it's likely that we'll continue to see discussions about how to best support struggling families in the years ahead. If you're wondering how this might impact you, it's a good idea to stay tuned for updates as more details about eligibility and the timeline become available. If the checks are approved, it's important to understand exactly when and how you'll receive your payment. Whether you get a direct deposit, check in the mail, or an automatic payment through a government program, knowing what to expect can help you plan your finances better. And there you have it, everything you need to know about the $2,000 stimulus checks targeting low-income individuals. This could be a big help for many Americans, but as with any government relief program, there's a lot to consider. From the potential economic impacts to the challenges of implementation, this is certainly a story we'll be following closely in the months to come. What do you think about the proposal? Is $2,000 enough to help those in need, or do we need more long-term solutions to address financial insecurity? Let us know your thoughts in the comments below. Thanks for tuning in today, and as always, if you want more updates on this and other financial news, don't forget to like, subscribe, and hit that notification bell so you never miss out on important updates. Take care, and I'll see you in the next video.